The New York Times has it coming to them. There was a brilliant moment earlier today, and I'm talking brilliant. This is good TV, okay? You know, if you're going to sit through this darn deal book conference with CNBC and NYT Times, you might as well get a little color along the way. And that color was provided by none other than our Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who took out a reporter straight to his face. The guy who created the deal book conference, Andrew Sorkin, over at CNBC. He also double times over at New York Times. So this is a busy, busy guy. I mean, hey, you got to take some lessons from Rachel, Andrew, because, Rachel, she does one show a week for $25 million. I don't know what they're paying you, but you poor guy, you're doing that morning show from 6 to 9 a.m. and then you're moonlighting for the New York Times. Anyway, Bessent took you down in rare form today. Let's watch.
The question is, is this a new normal?
Andrew, there's no new normal. And, I can tell you that I actually don't read the New York Times anymore. That sometimes I do watch CNBC, but, occasionally people send me articles and there's just this fever swamp. And, you're now a pop historian with 1929. And, in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, the New York Times is no longer the paper of record. You can't go. I read this article. President Trump is slowing down. President Trump's mental capacity. It is 100% fake. That he only called me twice at 2 a.m. last week, instead of 3 times.
You're saying he called you? I believe that he called you at 2 or 3 a.m.
Andrew thinks that he can use that as fodder, as material. The guy's insane because he's calling you at 2 or 3 a.m. Watch.
That whole narrative, you had what was one of the greatest scandals of all time.
This is good.
That the coverage of the Biden administration, Joe Biden's diminished capacity, and the cover-up.
And that's why it's probably fair to raise these questions.
Where was the New York Times? We just had a 3-hour cabinet meeting yesterday, Andrew. For 10 months, the Biden administration did not have a cabinet meeting. How are you going to invoke the 25th Amendment if the cabinet secretaries never see the president, which they didn't? That, I hear from people in the Treasury building that I see President Trump more in a day than my predecessor saw Joe Biden in half a year.
Smackdown, right? I mean, this is like WWF style, for goodness sakes. Way to go, Bessent. I hear he has a really good right hook. Apparently, legend has it, Elon learned that the hard way. Anyway, Bessent, wow, one tough guy. And he just let him have it. It reminds me the other day when he was on MSNBC and the MSNBC anchor was like, something about the Argentine debt credit swap that we did, the deal that, basically made us money, but don't tell MSNBC that, right? They're like, why are you giving money to Argentina? He's like, have you heard of a credit swap? And the guy's like, because he has never heard of a credit swap in his life. I say this as someone who started actually at Goldman Sachs on the emerging debt markets desk where we did cover Argentina. So I know all about things like credit swaps, okay? And I'm watching this and I'm like, this is going to be good. And Bessent's like, do you know what it is? And the guy's like, Anyway, suffice it to say, yeah, we made money on the deal with Argentina. And by the way, we're keeping the guy that we want, our friend, in control down there. So, hey, win-win-win, right? Anyway, this is just hysterical to watch him at it. I love it. It's like a good right hook, except with words.